Hi, this is Micornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Today I want us just to visit the topic about assistant pastors just for a moment, please. I want us just to speak about assistant pastors, but what I want to speak about them is just the important facts about them. And I want us to understand this because it's a very, very crucial topic. And if you're an assistant pastor, please fasten your seatbelts, sit back and listen, because this is going to help you to become a better person as an assistant pastor. But also those of you who are not assistant pastors, senior pastors, and maybe also congregations as well, it is very important for you so that you understand what an assistant pastor is all about. The first thing that I just want to bring about is that assistant pastors, they are those that are called by God, and there are those that are appointed by the visionary. So there are two types, of course, of assistant pastors. There are some that are called by God, and those that are called by the visionary. They're actually being just deployed by the visionary. Now, the difference between the two, of course, would be that those that are called by God, they've got their own vision that God has implanted into them. Those that are appointed by the visionary, they're actually supposed to be submitted under the visionary, and they'll be given roles and tasks in the church, and they'll be following that based on what they've been allocated. Very key. Now, these are the ones that are appointed by the visionary. Now, God called ones, as I said, they've got clear vision. They will actually walk towards the path of their vision. They'll follow their vision clearly. Of course, they're submitting under somebody, but they've got their own visions as well. Particularly, very important that we look at that. Now, visionary appointed pastors, they exist actually solely to serve the vision appointed for. So in other words, if you have been appointed as a pastor in a particular church by the visionary, you are a pastor at the mercy of the senior pastor. Of course, that title is given to you because you've been appointed. So if it happens that you leave the church, what is necessary there is you actually exit as a brother that you were before you became a pastor, because you have only been appointed to become a pastor in this particular church. You have been given a role to participate in this particular church. But when you walk out, therefore, you cannot walk out and claim to become a pastor, because your pastoral position or role was actually allocated to you based on the church that you're in. So when you walk out of that church, you're not a pastor anymore. Of course, I hope this is clear to you. Now, that's visionary appointed pastors. Now, visionary appointed pastors, assistant pastors as well, should operate stronger under the vision appointed to serve under. So in other words, your strength is under the vision. So you cannot move out, because immediately you move out, you lose actually your strength of operation. And that is why many of the assistant pastors that has been appointed by the leadership or the visionary of a particular church, when they come out and open their own churches, it becomes dull, dead church, and useless church, of course. And it's a church that is just not progressive, because they were not called in the first place. So as long as you don't submit under the original vision that you were called or you were appointed in, you find that you cannot operate effectively anymore, because you were operating under the appointment of a senior pastor. That is where your strength was. So please be careful of that, and don't open a church just because you've been appointed an assistant pastor in a particular church. Assistant pastors should avoid competing with the visionary. When you are an assistant pastor in a church, please don't be a Mr. Know-it-all. Don't become the biggest shot in that ministry, because you'll burn your fingers. So please make sure that you respect the setup, you respect the very same senior pastor, the visionary, and honor them in their own ministry. And if you're not happy, go and open your own church where you will rule yourself. And don't actually impose yourself to the senior pastor. When you're not happy anymore, please find your way out. That's the only way that you're going to be happy. Because otherwise, you're going to complain and grumble, and things are not going to be done the way you want them to be done if you are going to complain about how things are done. So please, make sure you're going to open your own church and set the things up the way you want. And I always say that if somebody wants things to go wrong in their own church, So please leave them to make them go wrong. Don't try to correct things in somebody's church that wants them to be wrong. So please don't also be upset when people are not changing how they run things, because that's the way they want to run them. But I'm emphasizing this because it becomes really a conflict between senior pastors and assistant pastors because of things, of clash of ideas or egos sometimes, and this must be avoided. Avoid also winning support of members against the visionary, because there are some of the assistant pastors that want support from the members, and they want to compete now with the senior pastor, and they want people to support them, they want members to follow them, and that is totally wrong, because that's exactly what made the devil to fail and to be kicked out of heaven when he was Lucifer, because he wanted to compete with God about the worship, that the angels were worshiping God and he wanted to be worshipped himself. And that's the type of conflict that we see in churches. Please avoid winning support of members against the visionary, because that's not your church. Please be careful of that. Avoid taking center stage either over the vision, so because that's not yours. So let the visionary be the main man or the main woman. That's the visionary there. And don't take a center stage. Because taking a center stage as well, you're confusing the very same members. Because they may not even know who's the senior pastor in the church. They may not even know who to follow. And that is very crucially wrong as well. So please be aware of that. Remember, if appointed by a visionary, your role as a pastor will remain valid only within the confines of the vision. I've mentioned this before, and I want to emphasize it as I close, that you have been appointed, therefore remain appointed, therefore operate appointed, and remain allocated of tasks. Follow those tasks that you're allocated, do them articulately. You were called or appointed for those, and don't want or push to become a senior pastor while you are an assistant pastor. I want to end up here today. Your host, Micornus Phokane. Thank you very much for listening to us and being part of this great one topic as well. I hope you've learned quite out of this. Please follow our socials as well. Facebook page, Micornus Phokane. Follow Church Governance Solutions. Click likes on those Facebook pages, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, click notification buttons as well. You will be able to see these videos when we post them. May the good Lord bless you. Allow me to check out right here and say cheers for now.